Well, welcome to the regular council meeting of December 15th, 2025. The first thing I would like to do, and this is a little late, but I think we do have to recognize Anna Ohalo. Did I say it right?
Oyala.
Ohala?
Oyala.
Oyala. Okay. She received the Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Early Childhood Education. And as such, I think it's incumbent to recognize Anna for this, because it's not often that somebody from our area receives a Prime Minister's Award. And if you go back, and I'll just read the award honors early childhood educators for their leadership, exemplary early childhood education practices, and commitment to helping build the foundation children need to make the best possible start in life. And, it goes on. I'm excited. It's a federal award, and for that, it's a big thing. And like I say, I think it is a very big thing. And I would just like you to speak on that for just a little bit so we can hear about what you actually do.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say that I'm honored to be recognized by the City of Brooks for receiving this Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Early Childhood Education. And while it humbles me to know that this federal award acknowledges my work, it brings attention to our program. It also highlights the commitment of the City of Brooks in sustaining high-quality early learning. When we first opened in 2017, I remember the mayor and his wife, along with other city officials at that time, taking the time to come in and look at my program and see the setup. And to me, that was a deed that reflected a long-standing, authentic commitment to the children in our community. Early childhood education is fundamentally about building community, and so I extend my sincere thanks to the mayor and for the city and to City Council for their support of early childhood educators and the children of the City of Brooks. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you very much. And I know I had the opportunity when you first came into that facility to tour the facility. So I would say that if anybody here has not been into the facility, and it's in the JBS Center, so it's not that far away, that I'm sure that Anna would probably more than be happy to show you around her nature by nurture. Nurture by nature. Thank you very much for coming in. And again, thank you very much for all that you do within the community. It's much appreciated. The next item that I would like to get into is acknowledgement of the First Peoples and traditional territory. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation District 4, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We are making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. I would now like to call the meeting to order at 4:35. You've got the agenda in front of you. Are there any items to add or delete from the agenda?
No
Okay.
additions or deletions from administration, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So would someone like to move, or I guess it's here, move to approve the agenda, moved by Councillor Nesbitt, that the agenda be adopted. All in favor? Carried. You also have the minutes from the regular council meeting of December the 1st, 2025, and it has been moved by Councillor Falkenberg that the minutes from the regular council meeting held December 1, 2025 be approved. All those in favor? Unanimously carried. Any business rising out of the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we shall now move on to the police report. It has been moved by Councillor Idris that the September, October, and November 2025 RCMP report be accepted as information. So, Staff Sergeant Harms.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first thing I want to say is it's my first council meeting with everybody. So first of all, congratulations for being here. And second of all, mostly new faces. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and continue the continuous reporting. So great to be here. The report that I'm going to speak to, I'm assuming that probably most or all of you have seen it before. As of right now, I'm following the same format. We haven't met for a couple months, so I'm actually reporting on 3 different months for this report. And this report does contain a lot of data. I'm not going to go through it line by line sort of thing. The information's in there, for reference. By all means, if there's questions at the end, I'll address any questions. I will touch on highlights though on the report. So with that said, this report does reflect September, October, and November statistics. In those 3 months, we had responded to a total of 1,171 municipal calls for service. We had 95 prisoners that were lodged into the detachment cells, and 326 municipal criminal record checks were completed in that time. As well, 95 violation tickets were written by the officers in those 3 months. And you can see I actually broke all those stats out into a little bit of a chart just for quick reference, and so you can see how that plays out sort of thing. The next point on my report I actually haven't spoken to before, but I wanted to kind of spotlight it, and it's just a little bit about our community engagement. And the reason I'm doing this is I've had several questions here over the last couple months with respect to questions as far as how we engage the community and what we're doing aside from enforcement work. And we are blessed to have a community resource unit in the detachment, and it really consists of 3 primary people, one being Kelly Sanford in the community unit. We have Sharon McCready as the corporal in charge, and we even have the school resource officer in that unit. And together they make up the community unit, and they do a whole variety of things. And what I'm reporting on here is, again, for each of those 3 months, I'm just showing you some of the things they do, which include media releases, presentations. We know presentations is a key part of sometimes preventing crime or arming people with information so that it don't become victimized. And then also the engagements we do with the public. And for example, what I'm talking about with engagements is things like Coffee with a Cop and so on. I'm not going to go through each one of those again, but I did summarize everything at the end of that section into a little chart. And basically, we have done 103 various types of engagements just in those 3 months that we're talking about. So I'm very, very pleased with that. And it serves us well in the detachment and in the community. So again, it's there. If there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer that at the end of the presentation. I also often touch on what we call significant incidents, or perhaps a better description is highlighted events. And I've touched on several here. I believe there's 8 in total. Yeah, there's 8 in total. But again, I'm not going to touch on all of them, but I do want to start on point number 2, which is what I would call an assault of interest. And on September 5th, 2025, we received a report of a male approaching a female on the Lake Stafford walking path around the lake. The female reported that while she was walking, a male began asking her numerous intrusive personal questions. At one point, grabbed her hand, kissed her arm and her face. The female pulled away from that individual, spoke to the male about it, and then reported the incident to us. We immediately engaged in an investigation with that. And in fact, when we investigated that, we actually found that other people had different contacts with what looked like the same individual. And in fact, we confirmed that in late 2024, there was a similar incident that occurred with another victim. I know that there was some social media activity about this and some concern. I want everyone to know that that male was identified and charged with assault and sexual assault in relation to this recent incident and the 2024 incident. So we're happy to report on that, and that matter is now before the courts. The next incident I want to speak to is point number 6, which is an impaired driving collision that happened within the city. And the reason I want to touch on this one is despite ongoing media releases and spotlighting of impaired driving, it actually still continues, not only in the community of Brooks, but in the surrounding area and throughout the province. And this one is of no exception. On September 30th at about 2:30 in the afternoon, we responded to a motor vehicle collision on the east end of Railway Avenue in Brooks. And once we arrived there, the officers observed the driver of the vehicle walking around while a passenger remained trapped in the back seat of the vehicle. The fire department and EMS worked and safely extricated that person out of there, who was then transported to hospital for some medical attention. Our investigation revealed that individual was traveling on 7th Street and attempted to take a left-hand turn onto Railway Avenue at what people are estimating a speed of approximately 80 kilometers an hour, and in doing so lost control and struck a tree. While conducting our investigation, we actually came to the belief that the person was drinking and driving. We conducted alcohol screening on that individual, who actually failed those tests. There were provincial sanctions administered right then and there, and that matter is now under further review for criminal charges, including impaired driving causing bodily harm. So a very serious incident, and again, it just speaks to the dangers of impaired driving and the lack of judgment that sometimes happens with impaired drivers. Point number 7 I want to touch on, it's mischief and graffiti within the city of Brooks. I think we're all aware of this. There was actually a lot of media coverage on this. An investigation is ongoing with respect to multiple reports and findings of spray painting, stickers, and messaging that would suggest white supremacy, anti-immigrant messaging, and so on. We know that graffiti has showed up in all parts of the city, in various places. We have engaged several officers and other support units on this matter. We do take it very, very seriously. We're investigating it aggressively, so to speak. But we do ask that if anybody has any information out there, to let us know for sure. So it's something that we have zero tolerance for. Point number 8 is a crime reduction initiative that I want to speak to. In the early and mid parts of October, we've seen a sudden uptick in property crimes. And a lot of these crimes were occurring, some in the city of Brooks, but a lot of them just on the peripheral outskirts of Brooks, and literally some within probably feet or meters of the city boundaries. But when stuff like this happens, it affects both city residents and rural residents. So in response to that uptick in crime, we launched what we call Operation Repetition. And that basically involved a very focused operation on what the problem was. And it involved us engaging several support units in the RCMP, including criminal analysts, our Southern Alberta Crime Reduction Unit, our remotely piloted aircraft system unit, in other words, the drones, police dog services, and several patrol members. The operation identified and resulted in the arrest of now 6 responsible persons. We were at 7 at one point. I don't know that that 7th person has been charged yet or will be charged, but for sure 6 persons who were charged with a variety of offenses in relation to these property crimes. I am happy to say that immediately after that, we've seen that uptick do a 180 and come back to normal levels. So very, very pleased with that. I also like to highlight that for other reasons, because it really demonstrates the RCMP's capability, with support units and other specialized units that can come together and work together to solve a problem. I will move on to the next section of the report, the other messaging. Just a quick note, we were out on October 31st in great numbers for Halloween. We did this for a couple reasons. One, we like to increase our relationship with not only the public, but youth. But we also like to be out there, doing our best to ensure their safety and so on. So we had several officers. There was peace officers engaged, EMS, fire department, and so on. And we had a great time with the kids, and happy to report that there was no incidents directly related to the kids trick-or-treating. So definitely a good time. Point number 2 is Students Against Drunk Driving Check Stop. On October 28th, we held a daytime check stop on 2nd Street with the Students Against Drunk Driving group out of the high school. And basically, this is a group that's helping us carry the message about the dangers of impaired driving. And they were there at the check stop with us. We stopped several vehicles. Happy to say there was no impaired drivers that we located. The kids and as well as our officers were giving out some, I guess you could say, some swag and encouraging safe driving, good choices and so on. So it's really great to see everybody come together and do things like that. Point number 3, I want to speak about the Alberta RCMP and their senior management team and recent changes. The last council meeting that I attended here, which was a few months ago, I spoke about Deputy Commissioner Trevor Daru being assigned as a commanding officer of Alberta. It's kind of significant to me and I guess maybe even to this area, because Trevor Daru was actually in charge of the Southern Alberta District, which is where the Brooks Detachment belongs to. And so I worked with him a little bit, as have several of us, and he's very, very familiar with not only this region, but even this detachment in this area and so on. So I was happy to see that he was named the commanding officer then, but now Assistant Commissioner Wayne Nichols has been named as the new criminal operations officer. And that's very significant because basically that's a second in charge type position for the province. And like Trevor, Wayne also come from the Southern Alberta District. So he too knows this region, knows this detachment, knows this, the city and the people. So it was really interesting to see that, and I'm happy for it. One thing that they have both done is they have committed and prioritized making themselves available to the councils and to the public. And so where I'm going with this is if this council ever wants to speak to senior management about anything, let me know and I can probably arrange that because they're very committed to meeting with people and being open and so on. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. The last point I have on my busy agenda here is that, it's about detachment priorities. Our new fiscal year starts on April 1st, and we usually like to have our new detachment priorities in place on that day or before. So really we're getting into a position where we have to start looking at that and doing that. And how we typically establish our detachment priorities is we don't dare do that alone. We actually consult with the public on a fairly wide scale when we do that. For example, sometimes we'll hold town hall public meetings to get that feedback. We will almost always launch a public survey, which has turned out to be one of our better tools to get that feedback. We also talk to our partners and our elected officials, and we gather that information. Often we compare it to our statistics, and we come up with our detachment priorities. So we're getting to that point where we're going to start working on that. A new piece to this is the city was mandated to create a new civilian police committee to work with us, and one of the primary mandates of that committee was to help us set policing priorities. So I was just talking to Mark today about this. It's all going to be dependent when that committee is ready to go, but I can see at some point, once the committee is ready to go, we'll be engaging them as well and, jointly coming up with those policing priorities. So there'll be more to come on that, but it's just a bit of a heads up. Other than that, the rest of my report has many pages of statistics. Nothing is really too far out of the norm from what I've seen. And again, I'm not going to go through all that, but if there's any questions about anything I spoke to or didn't speak to, by all means, I'm here for that.
Well, thank you very much for your report. Questions? Councilor Regner?
At the trade show, you guys had in your booth, I think you handed out some cards for registering your cameras if you're a business or a home and that. How's that going for you? Are you getting good feedback with that? Or is there something, maybe our social media people can help you with that?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that up. I looked at it a couple months ago and actually right during that trade show, and I feel our numbers could have been up. And what you're talking about is the Capture program, and it's basically where anybody that has video surveillance cameras can register those cameras on that database. And what it does for us is it just shows us who has surveillance cameras in the city and outside the city. And why that's significant is if we're working on a serious incident and we need video camera footage, one of the ideas is we can go on there and see where the cameras are in that area, and then in that system would be contact info and so on. So it's a big benefit to us. Our numbers were low when I looked at it right around that time of the trade show thing. I will say that the numbers have come up a little bit. They could probably come up a lot more. And that'll be definitely something we'll have to push at our town hall meetings and so on. And yes, probably we could partner with the city to get that messaging out there.
I'd like to do that, look into
Yeah.
that.
Councilor Falkenberg?
Through the chair to Staff Sergeant Harms, I just want to start by saying I truly appreciate you coming and speaking to us. All the negative things in our community spread like wildfire, but it doesn't seem to go the same when you're able to get something done about it. So the more we engage, I think the more people will feel safe. And I truly appreciate the amount of work you guys are doing on engagement with the community. I don't want to put you on the spot at all here, but comes up time and time again. People are asking me. I'm just hoping that you can give us some sort of an update on the death at the end of August of the young girl. Is there anything that you can say?
I'm glad you reached out about that. So the first thing I want everyone to understand, we don't monitor social media. We also don't take complaints on social media. So our involvement with social media is very minimal. I will say that certain things do get brought to my attention on social media, and rightfully so. If the public is focused on one area of concern, I do want to know about that. So I'm aware of what you're talking about. I got to choose my words carefully on this. The first thing I want to say is I don't want the public to be concerned. Okay, there was a deceased person found in the summer. I think everybody's familiar with that. I want everybody in this room and all the viewers to know that we are actively investigating that. And yes, it's been several months. Sometimes these investigations take a long period of time. And despite the length of time, this investigation is on track and proceeding the direction that it should be going. I'm not concerned with that part there. I'm hoping that we'll have some updates in the near future, although I don't know. I'm not going to say anything regarding the investigation itself, because another thing we all have to understand is the integrity of the investigation is absolutely paramount right now. And we don't have information that should be shared right now. It could be damaging to the investigation. So I'm not going to go there. But again, I will say the investigation's on track. And I do want to highlight there is absolutely zero concern for public safety to anybody in the city with respect to what happened there, okay? Including the area where we had set up and found this individual. Okay, we know that that's a highly populated area. We have zero concern about public safety and people being at risk. I will also say this. If ever we are working on an investigation and we feel that there is a potential danger to the public, or that we know there's danger to the public, everybody in this city will know about it first, okay? Because then the integrity of the investigation shifts. Public safety is always paramount, okay? So in that case, we would notify the city, about our concerns and maybe some detail. We're not at that point with this. There is no public concern right now for safety. Does that make sense?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Again, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I do ask that the public have trust in us. There is a number of RCMP members and support units that are working on this, including the medical examiner's office. So again, it's well in hand, and in due time, we will hear more for sure.
Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. Through the chair to Staff Sergeant Harms, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That was a great question and a wonderful answer. I was looking at your report. The only thing, for the city of Brooks, it looks like most of our major crime is dropping. The only one that I was concerned about is the mischief, damage to property. We're showing like 543% increase from last year on page 13. And you were speaking of your, notes of significance, the graffiti artist, I'm assuming those items would be in there. So
Yeah, so, oh, sorry.
I guess my question goes, is this going to be a major focus, not just with this particular person, but for next year?
Yeah, so when I talked about that uptick in property crime, like that started in October. So what I can say is sometimes it takes like a small group inflicts a lot of damage, whether it's theft or mischief to property. And that is probably what we're seeing here, because that is quite an increase. Now, noteworthy on that is that is, the report you're looking at is for the month of November only, okay? And that number is high, for sure. I'm not downplaying that. If you were to go to the year-to-date report, which is 2 pages behind that, it says January to November, and look at mischiefs again, you actually see it kind of balances out and is a little more consistent with the previous years. So I have a little comfort there, but I will say yes, like there has been some small spikes caused by a small amount of people or person. For example, you can increase that number rapidly if an individual is walking down the street and say breaking windows of every car, that they walk by, or breaking into these cars, doing damage and so on. So I trust that number will even level out more, if that makes sense. Yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, and it just through the chair to, I'm not sure who, can somebody, a lot of those graffiti issues are happening to the city. Is there a price tag to that? Maybe CAO Lagore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have that information available. We could provide it at a later date. Thank you.
If I may, Councillor Johnson, the graffiti file is a good example of mischief, right? Because all of those are an occurrence of mischief. And so at the last check, we had 9 investigations ongoing with that. So that would be 9 mischiefs right there by that, that one person or that one group that's doing that, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Councillor Nesbitt?
Through the chair to Staff Sergeant. I would like to thank you again for the increase in communication. We really appreciated being invited over to the over to the site and having that opportunity to, over to the police station and having an opportunity to visit with you and the other members. And I noticed you have your pop with a cop and coffee with a cop out in the community, and I think it's just really of value, because that does, other issues that are coming out can be discussed out in public, and it's great, and I thank you for that. Takes a lot of effort for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much for your input, and I only have the one question. What is included in other provincial stats?
So, you're looking at which page, if I may ask, Mayor?
It's page 16.
Okay, I actually don't have the page numbers on mine, but
Okay. It's the last page of,
Okay.
of the statistics. It kind of goes with the one on 14, which was the November statistics, where there's 25 other provincial stats, but I know that the year to date is comparable to the other months as well.
okay, yeah, so those would just be other violation tickets that the other categories aren't covering. I'd have to get back to you on exactly what's in that category. But again, it would be charges and offenses that don't fit into the other categories, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Unless anyone has another question here, again, I'd like to mirror what Councillor Nesbitt says. We've got a great rapport with the RCMP, and they do an awful lot of tremendous work in the community. So thanks to you and your team, everything is rolling along quite smoothly. And we
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And so with that, it has been moved by Councillor Idris that the September, October, November 2025 RCMP report be accepted as information. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. You also have correspondence and information. You have the updates on county conferences or workshops. Committee council report from Councillor Falkenberg. Notes and minutes, Council of November 25th, Brookson District Recreation and Parks Board minutes, October 15th, and Old Man Regional River Services Corporation Executive Committee minutes, September the 11th and October the 9th. And it's been moved by Councillor Johnson that the following items of correspondence be received as information. So that is the workshops and Councillor Falkenberg's report, the Council Committee, Brookson District Recreation Parks Board minutes, and the Old Man River Regional Services Corporation Executive Committee minutes of September 11th and October the 9th. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimously carried. The 2025 municipal election report is here, and I'm not sure, is that you, Mark? Amy? Well, I can't read the signature on there.
Sorry, through the chair to mayor and council. The 2025 election saw 2,933 voters split between 2 advance polls and election day. The permanent electors register was used, as was a new requirement under the Local Authorities Election Act. The list did cause some issues. It was inaccurate and caused some lineups. People either needed corrections or they had to register. And we had it set up to go to different tables based on your last name. So sometimes certain tables were busy and others were not. The polls ran from 12 to 6 on advance poll days and 10 to 8 on election day. And our returning officer did make some recommendations for potential changes for the next election. And that is for the ballots to have front and back covers, as well as counterfoils, the possibility of special ballots, and discussing that process well in advance of the election. Possibly looking at a different location for holding the polls. We held advance in the Flex Hall at the JBS Canada Centre, and election day was held in the field house, and we had some concerns about the length that some people had to walk. And to inform the public and candidates of the signage rules from the very start. We had some confusion with portable signs versus signs that were permitted under the land use bylaw. So unless there are any questions, I'm recommending that council accept the report as information.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, the only thing that I will do is inform everyone that did run, those who are here and those who aren't here, that their financial reports are due in by, I believe, April 20th. I think it's 6 months.
Through the chair to the mayor, I would have to confirm the date. I thought end of March, but I was planning on sending an email to everyone that ran to remind them in the new year as well.
Okay, that would be much appreciated. So it has been moved by Councillor Phillipson that council accept the 2025 municipal election report as information. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. We have policy L001-009, council social media use, and it has been moved by Councillor Regner that the council adopt policy L001-009 entitled the council social media use, and this time it is Amy.
Thank you again, through the chair to mayor and council. Excuse me. The city does not currently have a policy for council members to adhere to for social media use, and it is best practice to do so. The mayor is the official spokesperson of council. However, council members may also share city information on social media subject to the guidelines in this policy. Excuse me. Having a policy ensures that the city and council position is communicated to residents properly. Rumors and misinformation can happen on social media, as we're aware. And the policy allows council the ability to communicate the correct information to the public via official city content or reinforcing the correct information. Therefore, administration recommends that the policy is approved.
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, it has been moved by Councillor Regner that council adopt policy L-001-009 entitled the council social media use. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. The next item is planning and permitting application fee schedule, and it has been moved by Councillor Idris that council approve the updated planning and permitting application fee schedule effective January 1st, 2026. And we'll pass that off to Ms. Boulay to go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council, commencing in January 2026 are a couple of big changes that require amendments to be made to the planning and permitting fee schedule in the land use bylaw. One of those is the new accreditation coming into effect on January 26th for gas, plumbing, and electrical permits. And the other is the end of the residential new build incentive program, which had previously seen the municipal portion of building permit fees and residential development permit fees be eliminated. So the new proposed schedule to commence January 1st, 2026 is attached for your review, along with the existing fee schedule, which came into effect November 1st of 2024. And the recommendation is that council approve the updated planning and permitting application fee schedule effective January 1st, 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Through the chair to Ms. Boulay, I did look at some, I'm assuming that I'm to look at the highlighted portions. Those are the major changes to this fee schedule?
Yeah, the highlighted portions, the November 1st schedule, just represent the elimination of the fee collection for the residential new build incentive program. But there are other changes, like the addition of the gas, plumbing, and electrical permits in the new schedule, which obviously aren't highlighted, and a couple other small.
So I was looking at page 43, sorry, hot tub swimming pool. I just want to make a clarification that people with temporary pools in the summertime, do they have to pay this $162?
So we would have to look at the requirements of the land use bylaw. Above-ground swimming pools may require a permit depending on the depth of the pool and the size of the pool. That's why it's kind of like a hot tub and/or swimming pool fee, because we would, if the land use bylaw requires a permit, then they would pay the permit fee.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, it has been moved by Councillor Idris that council approve the updated planning and permitting application fee schedule effective January 1st, 2026. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. The next item we have is the development process improvement, and it has been moved by Councillor Johnson that council be named as subdivision authority minus members of the SDAB, and that staff be given direction to remove the Municipal Planning Commission as development authority, and that staff draft an amendment to the land use bylaw which adjusts the variance powers and authority of the development officer. Director Tiffin.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to mayor and council, the Municipal Government Act requires a municipal council to designate a subdivision authority and a development authority for the municipality. A frequent concern that is heard amongst staff is, and expressed by applicants, is that when the development authority falls to the Municipal Planning Commission, it significantly extends the process. It creates delays that are perceived as unnecessary barriers to timely development. So as staff has been looking into ways to improve processes, reduce red tape, and provide more efficient customer service, a change to the development authority has been proposed. Eliminating the Municipal Planning Commission as the development authority would speed up the processing time for permits. It would create consistent and predictable decision making. It would provide a development-friendly atmosphere for residents and developers, and it would ensure decisions are grounded in a clear understanding of the land use bylaw. So council does have a number of options available for assigning the decision-making authority, but at this time, staff is recommending that council be named as subdivision authority minus the members of SDAB, and that staff be given direction to remove the Municipal Planning Commission as development authority, and that staff draft an amendment to the land use bylaw, adjusting the variance powers and authority to the development officer. And these changes will be brought forward to council for review prior to being presented for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Tiffin, just a couple of things. One, the Municipal Planning Committee was developed so the public had a say in the development of our community. So what are we proposing in place of that, citizen voice?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Johnson, the ability for citizens to participate and to make comments in development and permit applications still exists through the subdivision development and appeal process. So anytime a citizen would like to formally oppose a decision made by the development authority, whether it's the approval of a permit or the denial of a permit, they can use the subdivision development appeal board process. So that is the most formal and most reliable way of doing so. Their concerns are brought forward to an appeal board, essentially, and it's conversed there. The appeal board has essentially unlimited powers to overturn a decision or support a decision. Additionally, we have requirements under our advertising bylaw and under our land use bylaw to notify adjacent property owners when there is a development permit that's being proposed, along with subdivisions. So we follow those requirements. Part of the adjustment and amendment to the land use bylaw would actually be to expand those requirements so that there are additional requirements to notify adjacent property owners. As it's written right now, staff only notifies adjacent property owners when directed by the Municipal Planning Commission, which could potentially be never. We often do it just to be proactive, but with the elimination of the Municipal Planning Commission, we'd need additional direction. So staff will be proposing additional stricter notification to adjacent property owners as part of this land use bylaw amendment.
Are there any other questions of Director Tiffin? Councillor Regner?
For option number 3, the name council as, sorry. You have 2 sets of options, I guess, subdivision authority and then the development authority. So option number 3 for the development authority, you have name council as a development authority and determine which levels of authority be delegated to the development officer and which will be delegated to council. If we vote yes on this here, your recommendation at the bottom doesn't really specify as far as the development officer's percentage or what they're going to do in this. So is there an interim, like you have 25% variance right now, is that going to stay upon us voting this in, if that's our vote?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Regner, this recommendation in this motion before you is essentially just to give staff formal direction to draft the bylaw amendment, which will determine the variance powers of the development officer. So that will all be determined through further discussion and direction with council. This is just a formal way of council giving direction to move forward in that process, essentially. So we don't need an interim solution because the Municipal Planning Commission has not been eliminated as development authority as of yet, because the bylaw has not been repealed for Municipal Planning Commission, and the land use bylaw still states that Municipal Planning Commission has that development authority. So for now, it would be just business as usual. This motion is just giving staff the formal direction to begin the process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation. Are there any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, it has been moved by Councillor Johnson that council be named a subdivision authority minus members of the subdivision appeal board, and that staff be given direction to remove the Municipal Planning Commission as development authority, and that staff draft an amendment to the land use bylaw which adjusts the variance powers and authority of the development officer. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, or do you still have a question?
Sorry, are we voting on options 1, 2, 3, or 4? I apologize. There's 4 different options there. So I think we have to go through each option, or option 2?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the option is covered off in the resolution that's before you, as agreed to at committee.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next item, and that was carried unanimously, the 2026 capital budget has been moved by Councillor Nesbitt. The council approved the 2026 capital budget and funding sources in the amount of $53,003,000. So, Director Leibel or CEO Legore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, administration took direction from council last week on the preparation of the capital budget, and have a capital budget that's before you in the amount of $53,003,000 with its funding sources detailed on the right. In presenting that capital budget, it took us some time, and I really appreciate the work from Director and his staff in preparing the reserves. At the end of 2026, we're projecting $11,282,064.63 in reserve. And then the grants allocation, we've also provided that to you. And under the MSI, at the end of 2026, we would have $49,718.60 available for future allocations. The LGFF funding, we would have $1,076,657 left for future allocations in 2027. And the Canada Community Building Fund, there will equate out to zero. There will be no funds remaining. We're prepared to answer any questions on the budget. I did receive a couple questions by email, and either Brian or Kathy will speak to the replacement program questions that came before us. We do not have expected delivery dates yet on the grader or the truck that's in the budget. The truck that was in the previous budget that was approved and is on order is expected at the end of January. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Leibel and his staff to talk about the replacement programs. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Through the chair to council, yes, as CEO Legore mentioned, there is a number of reductions made to the capital budget in the amount of $7,285,886. And so these changes allow for reductions in required debt funding as well as reserve funding, allowing funding sources to be saved for future years. CEO Legore spoke to a few of those items earlier, so I won't go through those again. But we are also bringing back to council amendments for the rate bylaws at a later point in this meeting to reflect the approved operating budget, and so that is just approval of the utility rates. As well, we are bringing the second and third reading of the wastewater treatment plant borrowing bylaw, which will have an impact on rates, but not in the upcoming year. It will have an impact on rates in future years. This borrowing bylaw was advertised through November 26th, and so we've met those requirements to bring it back for second and third reading. So as CEO Legore mentioned, we did receive a couple questions. One of them was in regards to the annual capital program, the annual fleet replacement program, and the annual mower replacement program. So those programs are set out in the related capital budget policy, including the mower replacement program that sets a predetermined dollar amount for the replacement of capital mowers used to service cities, parks, cemetery, and green spaces. This program is eligible to be funded by 50% from the vehicle and equipment replacement reserve, and the remaining 50% to be funded from the operating budget. The fleet vehicle replacement is a predetermined dollar amount for the replacement of fleet vehicles which are used for general purposes, vehicles in all departments. And again, this one is funded 50% from reserve and 50% from the operating budget in normal situations. And council may request alternative arrangements and approve that through the budget. For further details, Director Sari might have a few further details he might want to add or not.
None? Okay. Thank you. So, are there any questions? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Leibel, I guess my question for the annual mower replacement program, it's $124,000. My question is, how many mowers are we talking about? What's the average lifespan of those? Oh, Director, sorry. Sorry. What are we looking at for that money, I guess?
Through the chair to Councillor Johnson, I believe we have around a dozen mowers. An example of what you get for $124,000 is one of those John Deere wing mowers that we have. They're $100,000. So what we do is we'll do a condition assessment on our mowers each year, and we'll buy a mower out of any one of those dozen that we feel requires to be purchased. If the condition assessments show that they don't have to be purchased that year, we won't purchase that year, and that money will get carried forward until such time as we feel one of those mowers needs to be replaced. The capital projects policy, it states the life cycle of one of those mowers, and sometimes they make it, sometimes they last longer, sometimes they don't. I hope that answered your question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, through the chair to Director, sorry. I think my question was more, if we go to the gravel truck, we knew that there was a gravel truck that was in severe need of repair. I guess I didn't get that information regarding that. So is this just an annual thing, and then if we put it away if we need it? Or is there a mower that we need? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Johnson. Those mowers, they don't have a very long lifespan, so we know we're going to need to replace those mowers on a regular rotation.
Any other questions? Councillor Idris.
Couple questions. One is the gravel truck. Is the grant for the gravel truck a matching grant, the 50-50, or
Through the chair to Councillor Idris, no, it's not. We plan to use MSI and CCPF funds for the gravel truck.
okay? Then by just moving that 175,000 from operating, if we don't use that, we are bringing down the tax 1%.
Right now, that reserve transfer is in the operating budget as is. It's the remaining, the 175 that was in a reserve that's being funded from the grant.
No, but I see that it is 350, and we are using 175 from a grant
Yeah.
and 175 from operating.
That's correct.
But if it's not a matching grant, if we don't need to match it, can we use all of it from the grant?
I think I might be able to help. Thank you for the question. It's a good question. Because initially, when I look at it too, I would see it the same thing as having an impact on the operating rates. And so, what was done in the 2026 budget was this was taken out of the regular reserve transfers, and so it's an amount that was already in the budget as a transfer to reserve. And so it was another way we tried to minimize the impact on our tax requirements for the upcoming 2026 year. So thank you again for the question.
I don't understand the answer. So right now, as I look at it, it is 350, 175 is coming from a grant, and 175 is coming from operating. So from our operating budget that we just approved a few days ago, right?
So the 50% from reserve would have been from prior years, say 2025 or 2024, 2023. So those dollars were already put into reserve. The amount that is sitting in the operating column, rather than adding to our future tax requirements, the reserve amount for that reserve was already set in the budget. It was regular recurring amount.
Okay.
And so that amount, it was taken out of that rather than increasing tax for the 2026 year. So if it was taken out and funded with a different source, there would still be a reserve transfer to that reserve. And so the only way to make sure that it would no longer have any impact on the property tax requirement for that year would be to further reduce reserve transfers for 2026.
So now that makes me think of a bigger question. This column that says operating, is many of this column the same way?
Yes, I'm getting the nod. Yes, everything in that column is essentially the same. They're all set reserve transfers for 2026. And so it was, again, a way to get around any tax impact for 2026.
Okay. That cancels all of my other questions.
Councillor Johnson?
Through the chair to Director Leibel, I have the same question as my fellow councillor. I don't understand, if we don't spend it, wouldn't it affect the property? Like, I don't understand why we wouldn't put it into grant. Can you explain that a little more?
Through the chair to Councillor Johnson. So essentially, these are reserve transfers, and they show up as expenses in our operating budget. They're in there already in 2025. So in 2026, we just shuffle them around to where they need to go to fund the different projects, essentially. most of these don't actually qualify for grant funding. And again, like, because it's already in the budget, we just kind of reallocate it as needed without doing a increase or decrease necessarily for most of the operating items.
CEO Legore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, a comment through to Director Kathy. Would you describe it as an in-out?
Those ones are, yes. So anything that's funding capital on here is a reserve transfer in, reserve transfer out.
So through to council, what we're saying is the money is going in and out of the reserve. By eliminating this, you're not changing anything on the operation budget tax rate. It's still a reserve transfer in and transfer coming out. Thank you.
Am I seeing a question there? or-
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Regner?
So the reserve, like, we talked the other day about how much you want in reserve. You said one tax year of tax revenue, right? And we're trying to keep that number up. So not spending out of that reserve would keep that number up. But what I think I'm hearing you say is that it was in there last year for us to spend it this year. So it's a in and out. That's where you get your in and out. So anything we put in reserve this year, we are to assume next year it's just going to be gone. We're not going to be able to build it, because my goal was to get as much in that account as we could, to know that we didn't spend it, that we had your nest egg, if you will. So I'm not following. Why are we saving it if it's just going to be like, we might as well go down to zero in our reserves and don't worry about next year. I'm not following that.
So through the chair to Councillor Regner, thank you for the question. So our canceled projects saved, and Kathy can correct me if I'm wrong, 4.4 million in terms of reserve transfers. And so included in the package sent to council was a summary of our reserves, including beginning balances, end balance, as well as transfers to and from reserve. So those reserves are being built in this budget. And so part of those reserve transfers are, as Kathy mentioned earlier, budgets that are reoccurring from one year over another. There wasn't an addition to the amount transferred to reserves or taken away from that amount for these projects in specific, because that was transferred to reserve. We still do recommend building our reserves, and there's a number of different ways to look at it. I know one of the ways we had discussed was, just having 1 year's worth of revenue in the reserves for the future. Another way to look at it would be when we talked about the utility rates. Alberta Utilities Commission talks about having 8.7% of your equity as a reserve transfer and on an annual basis. That's another great way of building reserves. And it's something I think we are working towards in terms of our utilities. And probably the best way to determine the right number for reserves is to do a thorough asset management and reserve study, kind of similar to like a condo would do a condo study, right, of the assets on hand to determine what the future needs are, to try to marry that to the requirements for the current year. So that would be something that, if council wished us to do, we could do in the future. It does require resourcing, and so we would have to find a source of funding for that, to bring in someone to do that reserve fund study. But it's something we could look at for sure in the future.
So in regards to the reserve, if we approved everything today, what's our reserve sit at?
It's the attachment that was on the agenda. That would be our projection based on this capital budget and us reallocating.
Can you just give me the number, please?
Oh, sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, $11,282,64.63, projected December 31st, 2026.
Can you tell me what we started at this year, please?
We're projecting it will be at $10,690,019.63. That information was shared earlier with council, and I did provide a printout copy today.
Sorry, I see that.
Okay, do you still have a question?
Not in regards to the reserve.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none,
So my question now, with the operating budget that we have approved last week, and with this, where do we stand in the tax increase, potential tax increase?
Through the chair to Councillor Itris, are you looking for the percentage? Yeah, so it's 4.86.
We're still there?
4.86.
Still there, okay.
okay. Any other? Councillor Johnson?
Through the chair to Ms. Slaney, just to be clear, if we were to approve everything on this budget today, is there anything on the capital budget, I guess is the question, to decrease that 4.86 any further?
Through the chair to Councillor Johnson, no, I don't believe so. I think we, as staff, maximize use of grants to the best of our ability based on the guidelines and reserves based on their uses. So I feel like this is where it's at right now, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? And it should be recognized that staff have put a lot of work into this budget, both in the operating and in the capital. And I think they've probably come out with the best possible outcome that we could hope for at this time. CEO Legore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to assure council that if any of these projects can come under budget, we will do our best to do that. We don't try to spend the money that's allocated for a line. For example, a truck at $350,000. We're not going to spend $350,000 on a truck unless we have to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved by Councillor Nesbitt that council approve the 2026 capital budget and funding sources in the amount of $53,003,000. All those in favor? Unanimously carried. Thank you. We have the borrowing bylaw 2525. Director Leibel?
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair to council. As mentioned earlier, we do have the second and third reading of the wastewater treatment plant borrowing bylaw to do. This was advertised through November 26th to meet the requirements of the MGA, and will have an impact on future rates. Thankfully, not our rates for 2026, but through 2027 and forward, it will have an impact on rates. Thank you. So hand it back to you for second and third reading, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions in the second reading? And going to third reading, it will have to be passed unanimously, just so everybody knows. No?
No, because we've already given it first
Oh,
reading.
okay. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Regner that bylaw number 2525 be read a second time. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And it has been moved by Councillor Falkenberg that bylaw number 2525, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to incur indebtedness by the issuance of debentures in the amount of $17,471,171 for the purpose of construction of a wastewater treatment plant be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. The next item is bylaw 2526. It's the cemetery bylaw, and it has been moved by Councillor Phillipson that bylaw number 2526, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to provide for the control, regulation, operation, and maintenance of the City of Brooks Cemetery be introduced and read a first time. And that is Amy.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. A cemetery master plan was completed, and included in that was a rewrite of the city's cemetery bylaw, which was presented to council committee at their last 2 meetings. As a quick review, some of the changes include if a plot is sold back to the city, the purchaser currently receives 85% of the current plot price, and the proposal is that they would receive 85%. There are certain timeframes for which items can be left at the cemetery during different times of the year. We've added a natural burial option, scattering cremated remains, and associated fee. The addition of perpetual care fee for plots, and most fees are receiving a 20% increase each year over the next 5 years. And this will bring the city closer to the average fees of comparable municipalities. And some fees that are either new or newer and or weren't being proposed to be increased the first time the bylaw was presented will be getting a 3% increase each year beginning in 2027. And Field of Honor interment fees are not being increased over that 5-year proposal. And we changed the definition of a child to anyone under the age of 18 rather than 14. And future discussions regarding the expansion plans at the cemetery will be held in the future, but at this time, administration is recommending that council provide 3 readings and adopt the bylaw today.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for clarification? Not questions, that'll come after the second. Is there any questions on clarification? Okay, seeing none, it's been moved by Councillor Phillipson that bylaw number 2526, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to provide for the control, regulation, operation, and maintenance of the City of Brooks Cemetery, be introduced and read a first time. All in favor? Unanimously carried. Moved by Councillor Falkenberg that bylaw number 2526 be read a second time. Are there any questions? Councillor Regner.
I believe this is where I can make a motion. Can I make a motion to remove, after the 20% increase of fees each year for the next 5 years, I'd like to remove the next 5 years, please. So it's a one-time 20%.
So you're asking so that it's only in 2026?
Just right now, a one-time increase of fees of 20% for right now, not every year, so it's 100% in 5 years.
So you're asking for a 20% increase for 2026?
And that's it.
2027, what?
Well, nothing, no further increases. I was against the increases to start with. And so if
Okay.
you guys want 20%, I'll say, okay, 20% is fine, but I won't go 2020 for 5 years.
Okay.
I'm not for that.
So we'll have to get that written up if everybody is in favor of that motion. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Through the chair to Ms. Amy. I'm going to ask a question in regards to page 15, section 901. This is the floral tributes. I know that this has been a point of contention or discussion about the cemetery. So can we just be very clear on what, is this going to be now enforced? I just want to make sure that we're all kind of understanding that particular part of this.
Through the chair to Councillor Johnson, our current bylaw also had restrictions on what could or couldn't be placed at the cemetery. This one is a little bit different because it's limiting items during certain times of the year, but it's left up to the discretion of the manager of Public Works or director of Public Works and Utilities. So if Director Sari would like to speak any further on this, I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Johnson. What we're currently doing is we evaluate what it looks like out there, and if it's a really complete mess, we will go and clean it up. But if it's acceptable, or if we get to know the people that have the grave site, we kind of get to know when they're coming, if they're coming, and that sort of thing. So we kind of just leave it up to the managers and directors to have a look at it.
Sorry, through the chair to Director Sari, I just want to ensure that we're not going to get into a debacle that we had like 5 or 6 years ago, where there was a mass cleanup without prior notice. Is the intent of the city to at least, if it does become unsightly, to give notice to those family members? I just don't see it here. That's why I was asking.
Through the chair to Councillor Johnson, it's very difficult to give notice to family members. Sometimes you can't reach them, you can't get a hold of them. But I can guarantee you, any staff that went through that will not go through that again.
And I'd also like to ask, and this probably goes to Amy, what was recommended in the cemetery master plan for a fee increase?
Through the chair to the mayor, Director Sari can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they recommended a one-time large increase, and then every year after was 3 to 5%, 3%.
Okay, thank you. So, does anyone else have a question?
Not to this.
Okay. Okay, so there is a motion here moved by Councillor Regner that Schedule A be amended to remove all increases beyond January the 1st, 2027. Okay, I'll read it again. Moved by Councillor Regner that Schedule A be amended to remove all increases beyond January 1st, 2027. Are you?
We are doing 2 increases, 2026 and 2027.
20? Yeah.
We are doing 2 increases.
No, just one, 2026. And that it would be, that we would remove all increases beyond.
That is true.
Okay. Well, we could put it down in there. Yeah. Okay. Schedule A be amended to remove all increases beyond January 1st, 2026. Okay? So that's the 20% increase for 2026 and no more after that. Councillor Phillipson.
I'd like to speak against the motion.
Okay,
if I
go
may.
ahead.
The cemetery needs to be cost recovery. We don't need to make any money, but we don't need to lose money. And this is a really easy way to do it, to spread it over 5 years, and then we will be close to other municipalities that are similar size than ours.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Johnson?
I would like to also throw my support against this motion. The only reason being is if we have it at 20% for the next 5 years, we could be in the same boat next year and it could be a 50% increase. At least we know for the next 5 years we're at a steady increase to get us back in line with the provincial standards.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, again, it has been moved by Councillor Regner that Schedule A be amended to remove all increases beyond January 1st, 2026. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion is defeated. So we'll move back to the original motion of, moved by Councillor Falkenberg, bylaw number 2025-26 be read a second time. All those in favor? Okay.
So I understand the reason for the idea that someone buying a plot 20 years ago and now he wants to return it or she wants to return it, they will be given the money. Like I understand if that was done for investment purposes. If someone is going to buy a lot and then sell it 20 years later. But if someone is moving from here and wants to go somewhere else and will be buried somewhere else and it will cost him like that amount of money to be buried somewhere else because, you know, the person wanted to be ready 20 years ago, but he has a long, good life. So now we are making the person start from zero again in wherever that person is going. So I think it's making this person start again. So I don't think I support that. Or I want to understand more if there is more to this, more than what I'm understanding.
Councillor Sari, do you have an answer for that one? I believe it was 85-15.
Yeah, I think you get, if you buy a plot and then you want to sell it back, the city will give, I believe it's 80%, 85% back to your original cost that you paid for it.
So what was the cost, for example, like 20 years ago?
What was the cost of a plot in Brooks 20 years ago?
Approximately, like
I believe it's probably in your 2025 bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? So used to turning it on and off. Okay, it has been moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw number 25-26 be given 3 readings at this meeting, and it has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Okay, those opposed? So it's not carried unanimously. So moving on to repealing bylaw 25-27. Moved by Councillor Falkenberg that bylaw, or Regner, I should say, that bylaw number 25-27 be read a second time. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. This bylaw received first reading at the December 1st council meeting. And as a recap, there are various boards and committees that are no longer required, and because they were created by bylaw, they must be repealed by bylaw. The Municipal Emergency Management Agency was replaced by the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership, and council members were not appointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board, Eco Brooks, or the Youth Advisory Committee at the last organizational meeting. The bylaw will come into effect once passed, January 1st, 2026, which allows the boards and committees to complete any initiatives that they may have had scheduled for the remainder of the year. Citizens on these boards and committees could form their own societies or groups that are no longer governed by a city bylaw, and they may be eligible for outside grants, or they could apply to the city for funding. As a reminder, the 2026 budget includes a reallocation of $10,000 for grants to organizations to be approved at council's discretion. Therefore, administration is recommending that council provide second and third reading to this bylaw, and a further recommendation that council allocate $10,000 to the External Eco-Brooks Committee from the grants to organizations funding for 2026.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Councilor Regner that bylaw number 2527 be read a second time. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, so it has been carried. Moved by Councillor Johnson that bylaw number 2527, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to repeal bylaws of the city that are obsolete, be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that council allocate $10,000 to the External Eco-Brooks Committee from the grants to organizations funding for 2026. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving on to bylaw 2529, amendment to the utility rates bylaw 2308. Amy? Oh, Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair to council. So this is an extension again of the operating budget, just coming back for second and third reading to approve the utility rates bylaw or the amendment to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So it has been moved by Councillor Regner that bylaw number 2529 be read a second time. Any questions? Councillor Phillipson?
If I want to make an amendment, is this the time to do it or after the second one?
No, this is the time.
To do it. So my amendment would be that subsection 4, residential dwelling units, that we add, effective January 1st, 2026, no new account shall be eligible to receive the senior reduced waste management charge. And subsection 3, effective January 1st, 2026, no new account shall be eligible to receive the senior reduced home occupation waste management charge.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will just reread, hopefully, what you had said, but it's been moved by Councillor Phillipson that subsection 4 residential dwelling units, effective January 1st, 2026, no new account shall be eligible to receive the seniors reduced waste management charge. And under subsection 3, residential dwelling units from which a home occupation is operated, effective January the 1st, 2026, no new account shall be eligible to receive the seniors reduced home occupation waste management charge. Did I get them correctly? Okay. Questions, Councillor Johnson?
While I respect my fellow council member, I want to speak out against this. I think that our seniors, a lot of seniors are on fixed budgets. This is $10 a month that seniors get as a reduction. While I understand where we're going and we're trying to save money, I think our seniors can be some of our most vulnerable members. They are, especially if we're dealing with people that are only receiving old age, CPP, that's extremely fixed budgets, and that $10 or $20 a month could go a long way. So I don't like that part.
Councillor Phillipson?
So the reason I brought this forward is it's going to be grandfathered in. So the people that get the reduction, they will keep it. It's just as of January 1st, we won't accept any new ones. And you know, it's maybe not a big deal, and I agree, but I'm just thinking that as municipal government, we deliver a service, and it's up to the higher governments to make sure that our seniors are looked after and that they get enough old age pension to pay the bills that they need to pay. And that's a bit where I'm coming from.
Councillor Johnson? Oh.
Well, I respect that comment. I think we all know that there's not a lot of money in the CPP and the old age budget for these people. And while I do agree that, you know, we should be doing more for them, the $20 a month that the city can do for them, you know, there's a lot of people that are going to become 65 or 66 or in the years, and I think that it's a way for them to budget based on their, you know, what we suspect is going to be their senior years.
Councillor Regner?
I was going to say the same thing as Councillor Johnson in that, you know, the seniors, they have bills already. And again, I challenge Councillor Phillipson that, you know, the government, you know, we want them to take care of the seniors, but every senior I've talked to, the government's falling short on that. So I don't think the city should add to that problem of theirs. So I'd be against that motion as well.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Nesbitt?
Thank you. Through the chair to our council members. I think the higher levels of government are experiencing the same kind of problems we are, and that is income. So let's not beat them up too much. They share quite a bit with us. I agree with Councillor Johnson, and I would be opposed to changing that part. Sorry, to my other council member.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, any other questions or comments? Okay. So, to the amendment that the following moved by Councillor Phillipson that the following subsections of Section C to the bylaw 2529 be amended to read garbage collection subsection 4 residential dwelling units effective January the 1st, 2026. No new account shall be eligible to receive the seniors reduced waste management charge. And subsection 3, residential dwelling units from which a home occupation is operated, effective January the 1st, 2026, no new account shall be eligible to receive the seniors' reduced home occupation waste management charge. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstaining? One abstaining? Can't? Okay, 2 opposed, 5-4. Okay, so this one is, well, it's defeated. So we'll move back to bylaw 2529, amendment to utility rates bylaw 2308, moved by Councillor Regner that bylaw number 2529 be read a second time. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Moved by Councillor Phillipson that bylaw number 2529, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2308, being a bylaw to establish utility rates charged to customers, be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Bylaw 2530, amendment to surface irrigation rates, bylaw 1607. Director Leibel?
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair to council, this is again connected to the operating budget for 2026 and is approval of the surface irrigation rates. Having been read a first time, we just need a second and third reading in order to pass. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So it has been moved by Councillor Johnson that bylaw 2530 be read a second time. Any questions? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Leibel. I'm sorry, can you just refresh my memory on what percentage of increase this is? I'm sorry.
I believe that number was 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Sorry.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, it has been moved by Councillor Johnson that bylaw 2530 be read a second time. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. It has been moved by Councillor Falkenberg that bylaw number 2530, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to amend bylaw number 16-07, being a bylaw to provide for surface irrigation service rates, be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And now, a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Nesbitt that the meeting adjourn at 6:05 PM. All those in favor? Carried unanimously.